Alright, so welcome back to our video. So in this video I work on building a nice seaside area by like the foot of like the water fountain to my base. But getting to the actual topic of this video, you know that joke where pretty much you say something out loud in your kitchen and then a couple seconds later your phone serves you a hyper targeted ad on the exact same thing? Well, yeah, it turns out that was never really a joke. Like, Google has literally settled a $68 million class action lawsuit because Google Assistant was really recording people's private conversations inside people's home without anyone even saying the wake word. But here's the thing. Like, the recording thing, as insane as it is the least of our problems, because what Google has been rolling out is just so much worse, and they're packaging it as like a gift to the internet. So let me explain here. So Google's newest pitch kind of goes like this. So AI bots are flooding the internet, reCAPTCHA is dead, and we need a smarter way to prove that you're human. And their solution is called Cloud Fraud Defense. You scan a QR code with your phone verifies you're real, and everyone's happy. Like, it sounds reasonable, annoying, but fine. But until you read the fine print. Because if you're on Android, this verification literally requires your phone to be running Google Play services, not Android. Google Play services, their closed source proprietary tracking layer that runs in the background of your phone at all times. And if you're one of the growing number of privacy conscious users running something like, for example, GrapheneOS, a custom Android build that pretty much strips out all like the Google bloat surveillance stuff, you literally cannot prove that you are a human being. Like, you're just locked out. And here's the part that makes me furious and should probably make you furious as well. Like, if you're on an iPhone, like, Google literally just tells you to download an app. Done. But if you're on Android and you've chosen not to let Google track you, well, you're just a bot. Like, you don't exist. Like, just go away. Like, they built a human verification system that specifically punishes the people who just refuse to be surveilled. And that's not like a bug. Like, that is the entire point of all of this. So this is where we need to talk about one of the most brilliant and infuriating long cons in tech history. Because when Android launched, the whole selling point was literally like freedom. Like, iPhone was a whole locked garden where Apple controlled everything, and on the other hand, Android was open source. Like, you owned your device, you could root it, like flash whatever you wanted, run whatever OS you wanted, and that was the deal. But quietly, over around 10 years, Google did something that's both genius but also deeply evil. Because they took every single thing that made a smartphone actually work, like location services, push notifications, app permissions, and now even hardware verification, and one by one they moved all of it out of the open source Android base and locked it inside of Google Play services, proprietary closed source non-optional tracking layer. So now open source Android is basically an empty shell that boots and not much else. Because every real function requires Play services, which means it requires Google, which means it requires you handing over pretty much your data. And because of that artificial monopolization, we are now in a world where banking apps, even two-factor authentication apps, and just random like fast food apps are literally like blocking users on GrapheneOS. And not because those users are doing anything wrong or evil, but because Google's API literally flags their device as unverified. Meaning Google didn't approve the software running on your own hardware that you bought and you own. Like, you paid $1,000 for like a physical device, and $1 trillion advertising company, well, they get to decide wherever you're allowed to use it. Let me make this next part pretty simple, because I think people let Google get away with this on mobile in a way that would never on like a desktop. So imagine if Microsoft announced tomorrow that in order to solve a CAPTCHA or log into your bank, your PC needed a proprietary Windows hardware ID, and anyone running Linux would be automatically flagged as a bot and denied access to basic web services. Like, that would just be a whole different firestorm. Like, you can imagine that. Like, that would just not fly. Like, it would just not work at all. But people would riot, and it would be like the biggest tech story of the decade. But Google is doing exactly that, just on a smaller screen, and everyone is just nodding along because Google said the magic words of AI safety, bot prevention, and protecting the internet. Like they found the perfect Trojan horse because nobody wants bots. Nobody wants like all AI slop stuff on the web. So when Google says they need to verify your device to keep the internet safe, it sounds like completely reasonable. But what they're actually building is a toll booth on like the entire internet, or the price of admission is just running their surveillance software at the hardware level. And they are the ones who are going to decide who passes through that booth. Here's why this matters so far beyond a few thousand Graphene OS users like losing access to their banking app. Because if hardware attestation through, for example, Play services becomes the standard way that websites verify humans, well then Google just becomes a little gatekeeper for the internet. And once that's normalized, well the next step writes itself, which is simply just device-bound session credentials at the browser level, meaning your ability to browse the web at all is tied to whatever Google has really approved your device. Like we are heading towards a version of the internet where anonymity is just treated as like suspicious at the end of the day, where owning your hardware is like a legal fiction, and where digital existence is simply a privilege granted by like an advertising company and not like a right. And the most frustrating part of all of this is it's not coming through legislation. Like there's no sort of vote. Like it's just being rolled out feature by feature, framed as security updates and also fraud prevention, until one day the walls are just there and you don't even remember where they went up. Like you gotta pay attention to this, because the time to push back is before it's a default, not after half the internet already depends on it. And look, I get that most people, they're not going to like quit Google cold turkey tomorrow. I'm not even saying that you should. But there is a massive difference between practically choosing to use a product and being structurally trapped inside one with no real exit. Like the first is a decision, the second is a cage, and what Google is doing right now is very quietly building that cage and calling it convenience. So at the bare minimum, know what's happening. Because every time one of those stories gets like a collective shrug, it just gets read as permission for the next move. And these things compound fast. Like the surveillance expands, the attestation requirements tighten, the walls close in just a little bit more, and before long the internet you grew up with is simply just gone, and nobody can point to the exact moment it disappeared. So yeah, drop a like, comment, subscribe, all of that sort of thing. And yeah, I am experimenting with bringing back the old Yap style, so I'll see how this does, and if it, does good, I will return to the style, because as you know, my more recent videos have been like more like news focused, but I do experiment with bringing this back. But yeah, see you next time.